Hello everyone, welcome back to another video of our series Security Pathshala. Today we are going to see a topic which is called CCA security. This is in continuation to the previous topic which is CPA security. Myself Jatin, I am MTech computer science student at IIIT Hyderabad. So in the previous lectures we have seen the topic CPA security and also its mathematical definitions. We have also seen the different modes of operation for the CPA security. The agenda for today's lecture will be like we first understand what is the need of CCA security. Also, we will understand what is active adversary and a passive adversary. Then we will see an example which explains the motivation for the need of CCA security, which is the padding oracle attack. Then at the end we will see the actual mathematical definitions for the CCA security. So let's first understand why the CCA security is needed at first place. In general, we define the encryption scheme we have the key generation algorithm, we have the encryption algorithm and the decryption algorithm. In the previous chosen plain text attack security, the adversary is given and power to get the ciphertext choosing the plain text. But now in the chosen ciphertext attack, the adversary has given an added power such that the adversary can choose this random ciphertext and get the decrypted messages from the decryption oracle. So basically this is called as the decryption oracle. And now let's look at some practical examples of why actually this security against this type of attack is needed. Let's consider the first example. In suppose we have given an adversary and power to choose the random ciphertext and get the decrypted plain text corresponding to it. Now suppose if one person makes an transaction of 10 rupees for the bank, and what the adversary will do, adversary will modify that ciphertext or choose a new ciphertext which is saying the transaction for the rupees 10,000 to the bank. Now the bank is assuming that the message is coming from the legitimate customer. So in that case the transaction amounts will be differing, and that will cause a big problem. Also in the military applications, if the attacker sends an arbitrary ciphertext, then he may get an information about the movement and action of the troops to figure out what the message decrypted. Also in some companies, to pretend like an attacker isn't part of that company, an attacker can choose the ciphertext and get the decrypted plaintext just to ensure that the key used is same, in such a way that the other employees will think that the message is coming from the employee of that company only. So this type of very dangerous attacks can be possible the if this attack is not dealt. Now, the main reason why this attack is happening is that the attacker is now active and malicious. That is, the attacker is no longer sits passively on the channel, but it modifies the ciphertext being sent. Unlike in the chosen plaintext attack, where the attacker only observes the message, but here the attacker has an additional power to modify the ciphertext as well as choose a new ciphertext and get the corresponding decrypted plaintext. So now in the further part, we will see even a little help of the decryption oracle. That is not getting the entire decrypted plain text, but just a part of the decryption oracle can also be very harmful to the security. Now let's see the break of the previously secure scheme under the chosen ciphertext attack. Now before seeing the padding oracle attack, let's recap the ciphertext blockchaining mode, which is the CPA secure scheme mode. In this, to obtain the ciphertext, first the initialization vector is generated. Then the first block of the ciphertext is nothing but the initialization vector, and for obtaining the next block of the ciphertext, the previous block of ciphertext is XORed with the current block of the plain text that will generate the ciphertext for the current block, and in this way the ciphertext is obtained blockwise for the entire message. Now, but the one thing we have considered in the CBC mode is that the message will be multiples of the block length. That is, if the message is integral multiple of the block length, but here we are assuming that the message is arbitrary length, and we use some encoding scheme in such a way that that message can be treated as an integral multiple of some fixed length bytes. So the encoding scheme we are using here is PKCS encoding scheme. In this, let L be the block length of the cipher. That means after encoding after encryption, one ciphertext block will be of size length L, and let B be the number of bytes that needed to be appended to the message to get the length of the message to be L. So that is, if the message is not multiple of length L, then we will append the B bytes in order to get the entire message as a multiple of the block length L. The constraint here is that the B, that is the number of bytes to be appended, should lie in between 1 and L and not be equal to 0. That is, if the message is already multiple of the block length L, then also we will then also to maintain the consistency, we will append the message with the one extra block, and at the end we will append B blocks to the message which consisting of the which consisting of B data B times. That is, if the 3 bytes is the data that bytes we need to append to the initial message, then we will append the message which is of size 1 byte 3 times. Now in the decryption of this particular encoding scheme, it is similar to the CBC decryption, but the here is that the data is in encoded form. So after decryption, if the final byte of the encoded data has the value B, then if the value is equal to 0 or that value is greater than L, then the error message will be generated. And also, if the final B bytes which are actually the padding bytes are not equal to the value B, then also it will throw the error. Otherwise, it will be considered as the valid padding, and the final B bytes are taken away from the message, and the rest of the message will be considered as the actual decrypted plain text. So this is just an example for the previous decoding and encoding scheme. Here the message is actually of a length 6 bytes, but we consider the ciphertext block length which is of an 8 bytes. So the 2 bytes are appended at the end, which is actually a 1 byte which holding the value 2, and it is appended 2 times, and it is sent to the receiver. Now the receiver will see the last 2 bytes of the message and its value as this considered as the valid encoding, so the rest of the message will be treated as the actual plain text. So now actually what the new concept we are introducing in the CCR attack is that the attacker will be able to get the decrypted plain text from the chosen ciphertext, but we are not we are considering just a part of it, like as advice an attacker can send a chosen ciphertext to the padding oracle, and the padding oracle will decrypt the message and just return success or error on if the data if the message is correct, if the underlying plaintext is correctly encoded, then it will return the true, else it will return the error. So now on the basis of this error message or successful message, also the attacker can obtain the complete plaintext. So how the attacker will be able to do that? Let's see the main idea of for this attack. We know that when the receiver will receive the ciphertext in the form of initialization vector and the ciphertext, and the encoded data can be obtained at the receiver side by finding the inverse of the encryption functions, and at the end XORing with the initialization vector, that will give the actual encoded data on the receiver side. Now the main observation here in this attack is that if the attacker modifies the ith byte of the initialization vector, then This causes the predictable changes in the ith byte of the encoded data. Let's see how the attacker will do that with an example. Consider this is all happening on attacker side. uh, this attacker is assuming these things. Attacker will know that the receiver will form the inverse of the function, which is completely unknown to the attacker, and the receiver will XOR that data with the initialization vector to form the encoded data. uh, so first attacker will get the success message that the encoded data is the data is perfectly encoded, so padding oracle will not throw any error. Now what the attacker will do, attacker will modify the first byte of the initialization vector to see whether the padding oracle will throw an error or not. In this case, let's assume that in this case also the padding oracle doesn't throw an error and says that the underlying message is correctly encoded. Again, the attacker will try to modify the second byte also and get the success in that. But when the attacker modifies the third byte of the data, the padding oracle will throw an error that the underlying message is not correctly encoded. So what the useful information attacker is getting from this, the attacker will know that the padding oracle will throw error in two cases. If the b, that is the number of bytes to be added, is not correctly appended at the end of the message. So here the attacker is manipulating the third byte of initialization vector. That shows that the receiver is checking for the last 6 bytes of the data for the for checking the padding is correct or not. And so from this the information can be deduced that the last 6 byte of the padding are actually the padding bytes which are holding the value 6, because the in because the last 6 bytes, because in the encoding scheme only the number of bytes to be appended is exactly equal to the value of that byte. So here the attacker knows that the last 6 bytes are the padding of that byte and the first 2 bytes are actually the data of the encoding. So now in order to get those first 2 byte correctly, what the attacker will do, attacker will try to modify the initialization vector in order to get the encoded data 07. So what will happen due to this, if the the attacker will try to identify the correct initialization vector, will try to modify the initialization vector in such a way that the receiver will find that receiver will check for the last 7 bytes of the encoded data, and he will say that success because the last 7 bytes are equal and which have the value equal to 7. So receiver will think that the last 7 bytes are the padded data. So according to this, so he will say the success. Now the attacker will know that the okay, so the second byte of the initialization vector is 41, and by fixing this by fixing this, and by doing some mathematical manipulations, the attacker can now identify the what will be the encoded data. So in this way the attacker can manipulate the first byte of the initialization vector as well and get the entire encoded data. So here we have seen that not by giving an entire decryption oracle, but um, just by giving the um, information about the correctness of the encoding of the underlying message or not, the attacker can identify the entire plain text. So from this we can understand that how the CCA security is important. So now let's look at the actual CCA secure scheme to deal with such attacks. So just similar to the CPA security, we first define a randomized experiment for the CCA security scheme. In the first step, the random key is generated. In the second step, the encryption, an attacker is now given the power to decrypt the messages as well as the encrypt the messages any number of time using the encryption and decryption oracle. After that, after some point of time, the attacker will output the two messages which are m0 and m1 of the same length. In the next step, a random bit is chosen from which is B, and the message MB is encrypted using the key K, which is generated in the step 1. And now A is, that is the attacker continues to interact with the encryption and decryption oracles, but with some constraint that the attacker is not given an access to decrypt the actual ciphertext. That is the ciphertext which is going to be challenged to the attacker should not be decrypted using the decryption oracle. And at the last step, uh, the attacker is given the challenge ciphertext and ask for the output b prime. And if the b equal to b prime, that means the experiment evaluates to 1. So now this is the randomized experiments, and now this pi, that is the scheme we defined, is CCS secure if for all the probabilistic polynomial time attackers there is a negligible function epsilon such that the probability of success in the last experiment is at most 1/2 plus epsilon. That is, the probability that the attacker identifies the challenge ciphertext correctly should not exceed 1/2 plus epsilon. This definition looks similar to the CPA security scheme, but the main change is that the experiment in the attacker is given more power. That is, he can now access the decryption oracle as well as the encryption oracle any number of times. So this increases the strongness of the security. So this is all about the CCA security. We have seen CPA security, CCA security, their examples, as well as what are the mathematical definitions for them. Hope you like the video. Thank you.